are Tyrians. We are many races, several professions. We practice the arts of combat as well as healing. We have foes, and we fight them without mercy. And it's time for us to claim back what is ours. It's time for us to claim back Tyria from the terror of the elder dragons. We can't go on living our lives in fear. We have to fight. We have to make a stand. This is our story. Hello and welcome to episode 18 of the Chronicles of Tyria podcast, a Guild Wars 2 podcast by fans for fans. We'd like to thank everyone who tuned in last episode and thank you for coming back again. And if you've missed any of our previous episodes, check out our website, CoTPodcast.com, and check out our YouTube channel at CoT Podcast. If you like it, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, maybe tell a friend or two. I'm Naveen. I'm taking the place of Lagywn, who this week is on his honeymoon just as last week, but this week he's on a cruise. Lucky Lagywn. And with me here are Diint.
Hey!
And Kaysee back with us.
Hello!
And today we are going to cover some lore about Kryta, Cantha, and Elona. So those are the three major continents of Tyria. First, how are you, Kaysee?
I'm very good, thank you.
How was your...
And you?
Oh, I'm good, thanks. How was your week in Guild Wars?
Ah, yes, my week in Guild Wars has been amazing. So pretty much just been going around all, same as usual. And recently, my update is I got to 400 for level for cooking and tailoring.
Both of them?
And what was that?
Both of them?
Both of them.
Oh my goodness, overachiever.
And still Chronicles of Tyria silver medalist. Anyway. So I'm starting to craft legendary items for tailoring.
Okay.
And one thing is I'm not very impressed with the skin of the legendary items, but that's cool. I can use transmutation stones. I'm cool with that. And basically I've discovered the emergence of ectoplasms.
Oh.
So to craft legendary items, you need to use ectoplasms, which are expensive.
Ah. Are those from the drops, like the glob of ectoplasms, or just...
The only way I know how to get them is by salvaging rare and exotic items, which are normally I think they're either level 70 to 80. And last night I got 2 exotics from a map completion, and I think I sold one for like 1 gold. It was amazing.
Nice.
And the other one I salvaged and I got no ectoplasm, so I'm not really having faith in this whole salvaging thing at the moment.
Oh. Wow. Yeah, those are going to be... do you know how much they are worth on a trading post, the ectoplasm?
Ectoplasms are about... last night they were 20 silver.
Oh. Piece, and how many do you need to craft something?
1 legging was 5.
Oof.
So, and you have to use bolts of gossamer to make legendary exotic items. So in total I spent probably about $1.50 on my leggings. Mm-hmm. And they're currently selling at the trade post for I think about $2.50. So there is opportunity for making profit there, but you got to invest a lot to get a lot out.
Yeah, I guess. Wow.
I'm having trouble with the trading post at the moment. I don't know if anyone else is, but I see something. It's like a massive profit, especially for cooking. I make tons of them. I sell them, and the price has gone down like to half.
Oh,
so.
Yeah? No, I didn't notice that, no.
It's very fickle. It changes so quickly.
Yeah, it is. But we've been having a lot of problems. I know that some of our guild members have been posting Actually, I mean, selling items in there, and when it's sold, the money just disappears.
No.
Yeah. So, no cash. Or vice versa. They buy stuff, but they lose the money. They don't get the item. So,
Wow, that's bad, huh?
yeah, I hope they fix it with a patch soon for them,
Yeah.
but it hasn't happened to me yet.
I
Cross my
noticed
fingers.
that. Yeah. I've noticed that it's kind of like very slow updating prices. So you go to the menu and you go, oh, it's selling for, say, about 15 silver. And then you press the sell button, and I realized that it's updated so slow. It was actually only selling for like 10 silver. So in the end, I've sold an item for a lot less than I thought I was selling it for. So
Oh,
hopefully
wow.
they, yeah, now I've learned and I wait quite a while to check the price.
Yeah.
But hopefully they fix that up.
Yeah. I think it's gonna get some time to for the trading post to get working properly because I know there's so many issues with it. Did you have any issues with it, Didn't?
With the trading post?
Mhm.
I haven't been online in like a year.
That's right. How have you been, Didn't?
Busy. So busy. I literally I have not logged back on into the game since the last time we recorded.
Wow.
So I've been so incredibly busy. So if there's been issues going on, I'm unaware of them.
Well, you'll have to come play with us soon.
I
You have to
know,
leave
but
real
you all
life
are
a
all
little bit.
probably like level Berjalion, and I'm level 30 still.
I'm just level 62. That's not bad.
I'm only level 31, so
Oh, it's okay.
I now think I'm the lowest level guild member.
No. I have a chart. It's level 12.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
have
but
like
you
a
also
little...
have a level 60 something, so that doesn't count.
We're just trying to make you feel better.
Yeah.
It's not working.
Sorry. For today's community section, I wanted to point out to our listeners that we do have, a Twitter, a Facebook, and all that. And on our Facebook page, we started doing Guild Wars 2 memes. I don't know if you guys saw those.
I have. They're amazing.
Yes. Yeah, they're wonderful.
Thank you.
Is
And
that all you, Naveen?
most of them, yeah. There's 2 submissions Kieran did, and then there are about 4 from the public. The rest of the 50 others are mine.
You're so talented.
Oh, thanks. But the point of this is, excuse me, you guys have to participate. And when I say you guys, I mean you listeners. If you come to our Facebook page, which is pretty easy, facebook.com/chroniclesoftyria, just like our page and start posting memes that you created on our wall. And this is going to go on, the folder where all the people are submitting their memes. And if you don't know how to, there are meme generators out there. And if you're just too lazy to go there, you can just give us your idea and we'll make it into a meme. And on chroniclesoftyria.com, I have started today to post daily memes. So once a day, you'll have a meme going through your email. So it's a Guild Wars 2 meme. If you subscribe on our little box there on our website, if you subscribe to our website, chroniclesoftyria.com, you'll have a daily meme in your email. So if you feel too lazy to visit Facebook, which I doubt because most of us are on Facebook like quite some time per day, you'll get an amazing meme in your inbox. Also, Chronicles of Tyria, the guild in Guild Wars 2 is recruiting. And if you want to join, you just need to apply, and I'll put a link in the description box on our YouTube page and on CoTPodcast.com, where all you have to do is click and join the forums. You do have to register in order to apply, but not to read. If you just want to read our forums, you can be a guest and just read up. But if you do want to apply, you do have to register to the forums and have all your information posted there. As a side note, Chronicles of Tyria is affiliated in some sorts with PCGamesN.com now. We've become friends with that website. They are a magazine, an online gaming magazine. They're fairly new, but I mean, the web page is beautiful. You have several games that you can check out, for news and updates. And Chronicles of Tyria is going to be in the Guild Wars 2 updates submission section. So if you want to head over to PCGamesN.com, you'll have all that information. Kaysee and Diint, I don't know because you haven't been there for like a week. But Kaysee, did you notice anything in the community that you would have liked to talk about today?
No, I think you summed it up really nicely.
Thank you.
Maybe we should announce that Anavari is
Yes.
currently on the website.
Yes, that's very true. One of our members, Anavari, or we all have a certain way to pronounce his name, and he accepts them all.
Anavari.
Navre. He's been a member since the very beginning of Chronicles of Tyria, and he has recently joined as a writer on chroniclesoftyria.com, so you'll be able to follow his story. He's a Char necromancer, which I believe has no warband. So follow his story and welcome Anavari to the chroniclesoftyria.com page.
Kaysee, to answer your question, I just quickly logged in, and the trading post is down.
Well, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
They've been working like crazy on the trading post itself. And when I say they, I really mean ArenaNet. They've been updating it and working on it, and because there are so many issues, and they want to make it perfect, of course, but I mean, it must be one hell of a job to work on such a tool, basically, because it's all like the financial side of Guild Wars 2. I don't know how that works, but
I've noticed. I've talked to a few people, and they've been really impressed about how the trading post actually works. That it seems like such a simple idea, but it's actually a very complex mechanically, and using the computers and doing so many different things. It's actually a very complex system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It's crazy to think about, because not only do they use the trading post for selling and buying items in game, but they also use Guild Wars 2's shop. So for if you want to buy with real money, if you want to buy gems, and it has to be linked to PayPal and credit cards and stuff, and plus there's so many things with the trading post itself. It's such a huge tool that it must be hell to just code to make it happen. But as for the community section, I think that's it for today. Unless you had anything to add.
I would just like to say to Chronicles of Tyria, I miss you.
Aw, we miss you too.
I haven't seen you all in so long.
I know. We need to go dungeon run with you.
I thought you were going to say, you needed to go gun shopping or something.
Yeah, sure. Because that's what a mother does in her spare time. She gun shops with her friends.
Right. Well, there's that vendor right outside of Shark Mall that has some pretty nice rifles and pistols. If you want.
That's true. All piratey themes. Those skins are beautiful.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Mm.
There's actually some really cool little things that in the game that I don't know if everyone knows about, but like there's well, basically the story is we were farming and we picked up this item, and a few other people have picked up items like this, and it doesn't have any description. All it says is trophy, the amount it's worth, and it either has like a green or yellow color title. And it was very mysterious to me. I'm like, what's this item for? You know, it's not junk. It doesn't sell as junk. So what is this item? And I was tempted to sell it, but I kept it because I'm a hoarder like that. And and I actually found out, like, we were doing renowned hearts, and we actually found a vendor that was selling these recipes. And the recipes actually had, you needed to have 3 of these skulls. And it wasn't a very high level weapon, but it was a very unique skin. And and so you find these mysterious things in the game, and they actually relate to these really cool things, and you have to kind of piece them together, and and as a reward you get these very cool skins.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now it makes me wonder if I threw away stuff that I thought was just junk that I couldn't sell, and that it was actually, important to get something cool like that. Wow. Yeah, I'll pay attention. I'll put stuff in my bank.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of things I picked up, and I'm like, it doesn't sell as junk, I'm not going to sell it.
Yeah, exactly. So, as I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, we'll be talking today for the lore segment about the 3 continents of Tyria, which is Kryta, Cantha, and Elona. Right now, Kryta is only opened for gameplay, Tyria itself, but there is Cantha and Elona. For those who had played Guild Wars 1, they know what those continents were, and the people who lived on it. But what happened to them in Guild Wars 2? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. And we are going to start with Elona with Diint. Take it away, Diint.
Hey! Okay, so I will start off my Elona piece, which is a little lengthy, so I apologize ahead of time. I'm starting it off with the Guild Wars 1 Nightfall manuscript. Elona thrives in a realm surrounded by savannas, deserts, plains, and wastelands. 3 allied provinces stand side by side to support this proud nation. To the west is Istan, an island province littered with the ruins of an earlier Elonian empire. To the east is Korna, known for its fiercely loyal soldiers, dedicated army, expansive estates, and agriculture. The northern province is Vabi. The northern province of Vabi, is home to wealthy merchant princes, a land where successful Elonians believe their safety, security, and affluence allow them to sponsor many of their nation's greatest achievements. Despite occasional rivalries, these 3 provinces, Istan, Korna, and Vabi, have kept Elona prosperous and strong for over 1,000 years. And that was the manuscript. Elona, which, by the way, is sometimes also referred to as the Land of the Golden Sun, is one of the 3 main continents, or I'm sorry, not 3 main continents, but one of the 3 main lands when it comes to Tyria. And when I say Tyria, I mean like the planet. And yeah, it's a continent that is found southeast of Tyria, the nation, and northeast of Cantha and the Battle Isles, which in Guild Wars 1 are like, where the shrine or the temple of Balthazar is, and like the heroes ascend and the random arenas and things like that. That's where the Battle Isles are. Elona was once ruled by the primeval kings, whose rule spread throughout Elona and eventually all the way to Tyria in the Crystal Desert, and even established Kryta as a colony in 300 after Exodus AE, before the primeval dynasty fell due to the Scarab Plague. The primeval kings, that I just mentioned, were the first rulers of the humans in the desert in the desert area, of Elona. They ruled from 5 years after humanity's arrival on the continent, which marked year 0 in dynasty reckoning, which is their calendar system, and year 200 BE, before Exodus. Their rule lasted until the beginning of the Scarab Plague and the fall of the primeval dynasty in 652 DR, and I'll touch on the DR reference in a bit, because every single time that in the podcast that we've mentioned any sort of year marking, it's always been AEBE, but I'll touch on the DR in just a second. Dead primeval kings were buried in either the tomb of the primeval kings or the dynastic tombs. Now, when it comes to the primeval kings, we have a list of the known ones so far, all the ones that we know about, and those are King Elswith, King Cole, King Milius, King... kill me. King Wenceslaus. It's Ueslaus. So I'm going with Wenceslaus. Primeval King Jonas, Queen... Not a J.
Naughty J?
Not look it up. Queen Nala and Dala, which are when Nala and Dala were ruling, they're actually twins, and they ruled together. They kind of shared rights. And here's another manuscript quote about the dynastic reckoning that I mentioned before. Whenever Elona scholars write about history, they use their own conventions for writing about time. Different countries use different systems. Tyrians use the Movelian calendar, while Canthans have their own Canthan calendar. When dealing with outsiders, Elonians have little difficulty converting their dates to one of these other calendars. On the continent of Tyria, all history is relative to the year the gods left the world, which is why we mention AE and BE after Exodus and before Exodus. When the first... I'm sorry, I skipped a line. An event known as the Exodus. Elonians begin their calendar, however, 200 years earlier, when the first of the primeval kings began their rule over Elona. All years in Elonian history include the letters DR, measuring years after the dynastic reckoning. And so, when it comes to the actual seasons, I'm just going to touch on this real briefly. There's the season of Zephyr, which is basically our spring, and the element is air. Its days through the year are day 1 to 90, and the favored gods are Dwayna and Lissa. Then the next season is the season of the Phoenix, which is summer, and that element is air. It's days 91 to 180. The favored god is Balthazar. There's the season of Sion, which is our autumn. Its element is earth. Its days 181 to 270. Its favored god is Melandru. And there's the season of the Colossus, which is our winter. Its element is water, and it starts at the 271st day of the year to the last day, which is 360. Whew. Okay, and it's process of elimination. And that I don't think they mentioned Cormier in there, because I don't think Cormier really has an element as far as I know, but I didn't have Cormier for my god piece, so Naveen, you would know more about that.
Well, actually, it was Kaysee who took it, because I couldn't do that podcast.
I don't remember an element being associated with her, but I could be wrong.
Oh, okay. That's my fault. Say that again. I briefly zoned out for 2 seconds. I trying to figure out what that was. And on my notes. So say that one more time. I'm sorry.
Me?
Yes, you.
I don't remember Cormier being associated with an element.
Oh, okay. Okay. That works. Yeah. Okay. So the seasons and length of the year for the Elonians is the same as the Movelian calendar, which is why I bothered mentioning the 4 seasons. Various people of different occupations have different beliefs for the 4 seasons. For instance, priests connect the seasons to the different gods, while mages believe each season corresponds to an element. In a different light, the merchants have their own names for the seasons, which have been passed on from Tyrians they trade with. In the calendar, some Elonian festivals mark the passage of one season to another with tributes to the gods. The most prominent one being Winter's Day, It is unknown if the Festival of Lys is actually one of those types of events of a season transfer, basically. Now this is another manuscript talking about the different regions, more specifically of the different regions for Elona. So I'll do that real quick. It says, the land of the golden sun has weathered a long night and lived to see a new dawn. It has been 3 years since Varesh Osa's reign of terror nearly unleashed Abaddon upon the world, and the effects of that event still resonate throughout all 3 provinces. Korna, home of War Marshal Varesh, was perhaps hardest hit in the aftermath. In addition to the Dark Lord's nightmares, oh my god, I just thought Voldemort, which have yet to completely fade from the minds and memories of its people, Korna had to deal with a power vacuum after the loss of its leader and most of its military. The Sun Spears, along with Morgan, an ex-general of the Kornan armies, proved invaluable to its recovery. Both Istan and Vabi fared much better after the death of Abaddon. The Istani, long supporters of the Sun Spears, were lauded for the aid they provided in the campaign against Varesh. Attendance at Commandant festivals have seen a marked increase as people from across the world come to the Sun Spear homeland to pay their respects. In Vabi, the 3 princes spread their wealth copiously throughout the province to heal any wounds to their vaunted architecture as well as the rarefied sensibilities of their people. Annual performances of Norgu's Nightfall in the Boca Amphitheater, one of those amphitheater, draw crowds, if not rave reviews. I'm just reading the quote here. All of Elona has prospered from trade with Cantha and Kryta in recent years, and many Elonians have begun traveling the world for both pleasure and adventure. But as word spreads of strange rumblings from beneath the ground, adventurers are likely to return to Elona to investigate. Now, I've mentioned a couple times in the manuscripts before of the different regions, so I'm going to go a little bit into that since they belong in Elona. The first region I'm going to talk about is Istan. Istan is a large island nation south and west of the Elonian mainland. It is governed by its elected clan marshals and is the home of the Order of the Sun Spears and is a major port for Elona. It is littered with ruins from the primeval dynasty prior to the Scarab Plague. The next region is Korna. Korna is on the southern section of the Elonian subcontinent. Korna is a fairly rocky land with very little visible vegetation aside from the Elon Delta. It also borders all 3 other major areas, with Istan to the southwest. Vabi is to the northeast, and the Desolation is to the northwest. War Marshal Varesh Osa ruled from Gandhara, the Moon Fortress, Korna's major port and city. Vabi, arguably the richest nation in all of Tyria, as in the planet. Vabi is the most remote of the Elonian settlements. It is ruled by its clan marshals, the richest 3 being known as the Princes of Vabi, each of which governs in a different fashion. They have floating gardens with cascading waterfalls spotting the land. They hold Lissa in great honor, having a large font and altar dedicated to her. They also hold the annual festival of Lys in her name. And before, in our Gods episode, I mentioned Lissa, and I read from the manuscript that that's where Lissa's first follower originated, was in Vabi, I believe, when everyone, Lissa came disguised as some like hideously disfigured homeless woman or something, and everyone making fun of her. And then for some woman, Alyssa was like, thanks, and you can worship me now. I believe the conversation went.
Sounds right to me.
I mean, that's what thanks for the piece of copper you gave me. You are now allowed to worship me.
And Avery would say, sounds legit.
Yeah.
The next region is the Desolation. This land is situated on the west central portion of the Elonian continent and connected to the Crystal Desert far to the northwest of what was once an inland sea. It is one of the most hostile regions in the world of Tyria and is the deadliest of Elona. Any mortal who steps into its sulfurous sands will be instantly slain.
And Diint will laugh.
It is home to many undead creatures. So I guess that's hinting at Zaitan being kind of in that area. Since I believe, if I have my Tyrian map correct, that's getting kind of close to where Lion's Arch used to be and where Ore was, and the what's it called? Abaddon's Mouth and the big volcano thing. Near there. Am I thinking that correctly, or am I just making this up?
I don't know. I think you're making this up.
I think
I think I think the undead would be referring to Paolo Joko and his army.
That's right. I'm just dumb.
No, you're not.
No.
Don't say that.
I took these notes, because I've been so busy. I took these notes, soon as I got... Hey, you're doing Elona. I was like, cool, notes! Get it over and done with while I have the time. And so I haven't looked back over this. Because I will read the following sentence from my notes. It is home to many undead creatures and the great Janundu worms. The land was once under the rule of Paolo Joko. My own question. But following his imprisonment, the undead armies have turned to their own for leadership, rather. Abaddon was cast down by other gods upon these lands, the desolation, and is the part of Tyria closest to the realm of torment. So, again, if I had just kept reading and stopped, instead of stopping and asking questions...
It's okay.
Yeah, I know. There are distinguished subregions according to the subsection of my research that I found. It's they like to be called distinguished subregions. So that's what I'm calling them. There's the Mouth of Torment, terrible rift that connects the mists to Elona. It was here that Abaddon and his Marganites.
Yep.
Moonanites, Mennonites, Marganites. Mr. Trump. They're Amish. Challenge their five gods of Tyria. That the other gods smote the god of secrets down, imprisoning him and his following in a realm of torment. This once beautiful land is now a crater littered with the trappings of a god. And above it, the Mouth of Torment, hangs a weakness in the world, a globe of pure evil, beckoning all to their doom. Heroes, both brave and foolish, can travel to that dark and dangerous realm by stepping into the vortex. And the other subregion is the sulfurous wastes. Mm-hmm. That is so difficult to say. More difficult.
Those are the places where the desert, you would basically step a foot on it and you die.
Yeah, really, it's insane. I have here a deadly natural barrier that separates the southern lands of Elona from the rest of the northern continent. The poisonous fumes emitted by the corrupted sands, called sulfurous haze, is so lethal that all living creatures will die within seconds of directly inhaling these fumes. So if only we had engineers back then to invent a gas mask thing.
But no, we had to fight the Char.
No, where's when you need him? I guess he was on vacation.
Yep. Thomas Engine!
But only the worms appear to actually be immune to the gas, aside from, obviously, the undead, because they're...
undead.
And there's a place Kansas.
What was that?
There's a place in Elona that's actually marked on the map multiple times. Not multiple times, because it's just one spot. One time. But you can't access it. So no one knows why it's even on there. But it's called... Zalana.
I think it may be linked to, the expansion they wanted to make, Utopia?
Yeah, Utopia. That might be it, maybe. I don't know.
For those who don't know, Utopia was supposed to be an expansion, and they didn't release it because they preferred to be working on Guild Wars 2 instead.
Bravo to them.
Yeah. But I think it might be linked to that.
I think that makes sense, though. Lasagna is what I'm going to call it. It's northeast of the wilderness of Badza, if you've ever been there. Almost nothing is known about the area because it's rarely mentioned, but a lot of people believe, when I say people, I mean Vabians, they believe that it's actually the homeland of the Harpies and the Hecates. So do with that little bit of knowledge as you will. Now, that's basically all Guild Wars 1 reference. So I'm going to touch a little bit into what's briefly known about it for Guild Wars 2 and just kind of the history and the timeline of what happened in Elona, and then I'll be done. Someone's stomach just growled?
Sorry. It's not my stomach, it's just bubbles. You heard that? That was crazy.
Hungry.
Sorry.
You know, I heard that, but it was so faint, and I was like, geez, I hope that wasn't me.
I am hungry.
So yeah, the northern borders of Elona are now, when I say now, I mean Guild Wars 2 time. Actually, they're basically ridden with Zaitan's minions, so I guess they really just can't shake the undead. Because they've had undead problems with Palawajoko, and now Zaitan is getting all up in their business. But yeah, actually, it's funny though, because since the undead have always been there, since Palawajoko kind of did all of his cray stuff, dead kind of like formed their own little, I guess, nation, and then now Zaitan's undead's there. They're actually fighting each other. There's like a war between the two undead, which I find funny. I'm like, how do you tell one zombie from another?
Well, I mean,
it's looking like to me. But
I don't know. If you remember Guild Wars 1, the undead, what they look like compared to the Risen in Guild Wars 2, to me, they look different. Because in Guild Wars 1, they kind of resembled like the... all I have as a word is pyramids, but it's not pyramids. The Egyptian culture, like the mummies, they look like mummies to me.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know if that's how they're gonna picture it, like portray it. I mean, in Guild Wars 2, but I mean, they could just put them in bandages and I don't know.
I have no clue. I want to find out though.
One thing that annoys me is that the Orions have been underwater for so long and they still have meat on their bones.
Yeah.
What? What were the fish doing all that time?
The fish aren't dead.
No, but before, I mean, the fish, they should have eaten some of the humans, surely. I mean, it takes like a week for fish to eat.
Yeah.
Go there. Some decay at least. I mean, that's why people dump dead bodies in a river or a lake or ocean anyway, is because the human body decomposes so quickly and decays so quickly when it's submerged in water for such a long time that you like all fingerprints and whatnot are literally like washed away because the skin becomes mush and all this other stuff. It just kind of like disintegrates in the water over time, and it's like impossible to prove that you've ever touched the. Why am I how to hide a body?
I was just wondering that.
Me too. I'm like, you know way too much about this.
So
back to Guild Wars related stuff.
FBI. FBI is now a subscriber to the CoT podcast. You like this guy. I live in Kentucky. Yeah, so it's funny the undead minions from Zaitan is there because it's actually being joined with Cockatorix minions from the Crystal Desert.
Say that again?
The undead minions from Zaitan are actually being joined with Cockatorix minions because Cockatorix is chilling in the Crystal Desert and that is connected in Elona. So they're all having a big minion party. And because of all of that, there's actually like almost no communication between Tyria and Elona. And the only people who have any sort of communication and transportation from Tyria to Elona and vice versa is the Order of Whispers. And no one knows how or why. And they're not going to say nothing because they're secretive little bastards. So they're confusing everyone. But yeah, I mean, that is interesting. Like how, I guess transportation-wise, I guess that would be maybe an Asuran gate.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. But my question is, how did you get an Asura that far down into Elona to build one as the other end of it?
Well, I mean, we know that there were certain gates in Guild Wars 1. They could have built them like between Guild Wars 1 and what happened when the dragons rose, like awoke, I mean.
Yeah, because, I mean, the Order of Whispers knows way too much, way more than they should. And so maybe they knew all this cray-cray stuff was going to be happening. Because, I mean, I mentioned in the Orders episode, like, they knew Zaitan was going to be waking up, and they tried to warn everyone, and everyone was like, no. Didn't listen to them. And so my guess is they were, like, planning ahead of time, maybe. Like, we should probably build some way to get over here in case we need to. That would actually make sense. That's a good point, Naveen. Good.
Yay! Gold star for Naveen.
Oh, sweet.
So yeah, and when it comes to the history of Elona, the current earliest known records of Elona is in 205 BE. When humans arrived along the southern shores and the northern valleys of the continent. Within 5 years of that, humans had established the primeval dynasty, like I mentioned earlier, that situated itself in Foranor. Why do they have to use such words? The king's reign extended from Istan to Vabi, and after its creation, into the northern reaches of the Crystal Desert. They even built a colony in Kryta, lands previously inhabited by Orions and Centaurs. In 300 AE, let me fix my inflection on that so we can notice the difference, though it became independent nearly 50 years later. The primeval dynasty lasted for approximately 650 years, ending with the Scarab Plague that swept through Istan and killing the royal family. 4 years after the Scarab Plague began and the Istan was abandoned, a man by the name of Admun Kolos took the throne and began the second dynasty of Elona, called the Great Dynasty. Istan was isolated for 8 years until settlers returned and blocking off the source of the plague, Foranor, that whole area. This new dynasty, the Great One, not the primeval one, but the Great One, lasted 31 years, however, and brought forth the bloodiest time and wars in the entire land. The Shattered Dynasty, which was consumed by the Pretender Wars. These wars saw the birth of the dervish profession. Yay! I forgot. Yes, I forgot. I had a sticky note that I lost to mention how excited I was. I found profession lore.
In Guild Wars 2?
No, in Guild Wars 1. Yeah, for the dervish. Like, that's how the dervish profession was born.
Right.
Yay, some profession lore, because that's what I've been dying. Like, where are the elementalists? Why are the monks all monkey? those wars, the Pretender Wars, actually kind of gave birth, if you will, to the dervish profession before the wars ended in 640 AE, 37 years after the wars began. The outcome of the wars was the establishment of 3 allied provinces, each one controlling Istan, Korna, and Vabi. In 860 AE, the first invasion by Palawa Joko and his undead armies began. He quickly conquered Vabi. Oh, I probably should have started this. This is going through all of Guild Wars 1 Nightfall timeline, so spoiler alert, I'm a little late with that. Sorry. He quickly conquered Vabi, earning him the title as the Scourge of Vabi, and moved his forces south. At the Grand Cataract of Jahai, the forces of Korna, along with the remnant forces of Vabi and the Sun Spears, stood against Palawa Joko's armies as their general. Turai Osa assaulted Palawa Joko directly and defeated him at the Battle of Jahai. However, because Palawa Joko could not be killed by any means that they tried, Turai imprisoned the undead lord and established the Order of Whispers to ensure he remained imprisoned. Due to the victory, sort of, I mean, he didn't die, but they caught him, so I guess we can count that as a victory. Turai was actually crowned king of all Elona. And in the following years, his obsession with prophecies led him to give his son the crown and lead the great pilgrimage into the Crystal Desert. In 1075 AE, Abaddon attempted to break free of his prison and brought forth the Nightfall, utilizing the few still faithful to him, such as War Marshal Varesh Osa, who he had portals opened throughout Elona and dark rituals of the realm performed to weaken the barrier between Tyria and the Mists. However, after fighting their way into the heart of the Realm of Torment, Abaddon was defeated by members of the Order of Sunspears and killed, supplanted by Cormyr, who became the new goddess of knowledge. That's her homegirl, and you barely sound thrilled.
It's because I already knew, that's why.
It's whatever. For the following years after Nightfall, the 3 provinces worked to recover. Istan became a tourist nation due to their aid in helping the Sunspears, and the Vabian princes used their wealth to speed their nation's recovery. Good for them. Take note, just saying. Mitt Romney is getting on my nerves.
Who?
Ian, Australian. You have no idea who I'm talking about.
I just know that everyone hates him.
Okay. Sorry. I keep that America is not the only country in the world. This is why because we think we're the center of the universe.
At least you're acknowledging.
Yeah, I'm acknowledging. I'm an egotistical American. Pizza vegetable. Yeah, so the princes used their wealth to kind of fix the economy and fix all of the things that went wrong from the wars and the undead and Palawa Joko going all crazy, blah, blah, blah. Korna was actually plunged into a civil war as they were actually kind of left leaderless, though the Order of Sunspears kind of tried real hard to bring peace as they spread throughout Elona to the other continents. 60 years after Nightfall, Palawa Joko, actually having been freed by Abaddon's return, once more invaded Elona. This time he actually dammed the Elon River. And when I say dammed, I mean blocked it, not like sent it to hell. Were from its former southern course and caused famine throughout Vabi and northern Korna. Vabi quickly surrendered to ensure survival, and Korna and Istan became vassal states shortly after that. Those who could have fled the undead ruled nation, basically, of what it became, towards many of those actually became refugees in Kryta. The Order of the Sunspears were broken and corrupted after that, and started having like internal disputes because of there was just like too much going on. and they didn't really know what to do or how to handle it. And so, like every kind of group, there's always that small group of individuals who think they know how to do everything, and then it broken apart. And actually were reformed into the Mordaunt Crescent, and Palawajoko had the descendants of the Osa clan hunted down. Few of either still exist, meaning the... Pardon me, I burped. The Order of... and they're a very small amount actually still exist, but those that do actually end up become alone, like, because they don't want to like reveal who they are, because they're still gonna be like ended up being hunted down. Approximately 50 years ago, when I say 50 years ago, I mean like
from the Guild Wars 2 time right now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm losing my mind. I'm sorry. I'm so tired. Approximately 50 years ago, another wave of Elonian refugees came into Tyria, escaping the ravages of Palawajoko. So no, not Guild Wars 2 timeline.
Woo.
No. Yes, Guild Wars 2 timeline. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
This whole part out.
Diint, you're confusing me.
No, confusing myself.
That's not good.
So now access to Elona has been completely barred off. The Desert Gate being the primary land route into the Crystal Desert, and sealed under Queen Jen's order due to the dark presence in the desert, and that's not really clear on what that is. Only the Order of Whispers, like I mentioned earlier, has knowledge of how to travel to Elona now, and they aren't telling anyone. And so yeah, that's basically what I have on the continent of Elona. Thank God I'm done.
So right now, Elona is not accessible, and do you think that it's going to be an expansion in the future?
I think that they definitely have a way. They have, if they're going to do what I think they're going to do, of what they did with Guild Wars 1 and release Tyria for the first one, and then Cantha for the second one. I think they have plenty of time of the time span of Guild Wars 2 Tyria, Guild Wars 2 Cantha. They have plenty of time within those two to find a way to open up Elona.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to fix whatever is going on down there, or something. So I think that they definitely will. Or that's going to be like the preface of the Elona expansion of, okay, well, let's bamf our way to Elona type thing. Kick down the...
Do you think that Palawajoko might be there to like greet us in the beginning of his game, basically? Because isn't he the one that has the main control of Elona right now?
I'm sorry, what? My cut out for a little bit. I didn't hear you.
I said, do you think that it's going to be like Palawajoko that's going to greet us when and if they come up with the expansion?
That's a good question. That he would be the Dark Presence.
Mm-hmm.
Because because since Zhaitan has minions in Elona, but I mean, I don't want to say that we kill Zhaitan in Guild Wars 2, the one that we have now, because I haven't gotten that far, and all of you people are level 80 and have already beaten it. But
no way.
But yeah, so since basically I'm assuming that we don't necessarily kill Zhaitan, we may just defeat Zhaitan and put Zhaitan back into a coma or something. I don't know. Zhaitan goes back to sleep, whether for good or not. I'm assuming his minions will also disappear. So that leads me thinking of, well, that means it's just going to be Palawajoko's minions left in that area, which means Palawajoko may be like, cool, well, since Elona's been barren for years, this whole place is mine. Let me back and take over the whole place.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good thing. That's a good question. I think there's a very big chance about that.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it's not because it'd be redundant because we fought him so many freaking times.
But he keeps coming back, and quite frankly, I really liked him, even though he was a meanie, like in Guild Wars 1, because he was not funny, but he was like he'd always have like something not sarcastic to say, but he always had a comeback to whatever we were saying, and I just liked his personality, even though he was evil. I like the character. So I do hope that we're going to see him, but thank you very much, Diint, for this segment about Elona and where it stands today in Guild Wars 2.
Not a problem. I will never again take 4 pages of notes.
But I mean, Elona is a pretty big piece of lore, so of course you had 4 pages. It's pretty normal. Speaking of 4 pages, I made a document because I'll be talking about Cantha, and I made a document for those who would want to follow at the same time, and I'll put the link in the description box on the YouTube channel and on CoTPodcast.com so that you can follow at the same time. And if you don't mind, Kaysee, I'll go first and talk about Cantha.
Yep.
Because you have the most interesting piece of tonight's show, it being a Kryta and the land that we are roaming right now in Guild Wars 2. Mm-hmm. So I will be talking about Cantha, its history, and this situation in Guild Wars 2. So, Cantha is a very beautiful Asian-inspired continent that was located to the southwest of the continents of Tyria and Elona across the unending ocean. It was divided by 4 major regions: Xingzhe Island, Kaineng City, Echowild Forest, and the Jade Sea. Cantha offered beautiful landscapes despite being ran by the afflicted in Guild Wars 1. The northern coastline of Cantha is the earliest known location of human settlements, dating back to the late pre-imperial era, 276 years before the beginning of the Canthan calendar. 276 years before the beginning of the Canthan calendar, and predating the earliest known human presence in Tyria and Elona by 581 years. Cantha could be called the humanity's birthplace, at least until more evidence comes to light. Cantha became isolated under Emperor Usoku's rule, cutting ties with the northern nations. When Zaitan rose, the passage to Cantha was further cut off when his fleet took control of the Strait of Malkor, a passage located south of the Sea of Sorrows between Or and the Tarnished coast. It is patrolled by ships with black sails, crewed by servants of Zaitan, thus making the passage by sea impossible and isolating Cantha. Emperor Usoku was the successor of Emperor Kisu to the Canthan throne. During his reign, he spent millions in gold to arm his troops and defeat the warring Luxan and Kurzik factions. Usoku also unified the Canthan nation behind a strong national identity and began to remove all non-humans from Cantha. Canthans who disagreed with Usoku's views were forced to leave their homeland for either Tyria or Elona. Last show we were talking about the Tengu and how they were driven out of Cantha. Well, that was what happened. In Guild Wars 1, we learned about the Jade Wind. The Jade Wind is a formative event in Kanthan history. It occurred when one of the emperor's bodyguards, Shiro Tagachi, assassinated his master, the 26th emperor of Kantha, Angxian. Shiro was an amazing warrior, to say the least, but he committed several crimes through dark rituals in preparation for his actions. Shortly after, 3 champions slew Shiro, but in his dying moments, he let out a horrific wail that unleashed the powers of his ritual on the land. The jade wind spread from temple, turning the sea into solid jade and petrifying everything it touched within the Echovald forest. 100 years later, signs began to appear, revealing that Shiro Tagachi's evil was not fully destroyed. One of the first signs was the appearance of a horrible plague, which turned victims of the disease into violent creatures called the afflicted. And I hated those things. They would explode in your face and make you poisoned. Oh God, I hated factions just because of the afflicted, going there and trying to fight them, but and as an elementalist, you were very squishy, so you would die very easily, especially in a hard mode. It was later found that Shiro had been turned into a spirit to pay penance for his crimes. Instead of doing his duties and guiding the souls of the dead, he corrupted them to build an army. A group of heroes appeared, our descendants, us, players of Guild Wars 1, and gathered Kurziks and Luxons alike, along with the dragon named Kunavang. And we found Shiro and his plans. His ultimate goal was to return to life, but that required imperial blood to be spilled. Breaking the siege that Shiro had laid upon the palace, the heroes arrived before Emperor Kisu could be slain. And for those who haven't played Guild Wars 1 and want to, I'm going to tell a little spoiler right now, so if you want to skip ahead 15 seconds, that'd be great. Master Togo, one of the worst voice actors of factions. Brother Menlo! He was the half-brother of Emperor Kisu. He placed himself between Shiro and the Emperor, taking the death blow. Fulfilling the condition of spilling imperial blood, Shiro returned to life but was swiftly defeated by the heroes and sent back to the underworld. Factions had the worst voiceovers ever. I am very sorry, ArenaNet. I loved Factions. I loved the storyline. It was awesome. It was actually my favorite campaign, but the voice actors were crappy, horrible.
I totally agree.
Aside from Menlo, which was already in, Guild Wars 1, like the first one. But other than that, it sounded to me like it was a parody of Asian movies dubbed in English, basically. It was crazy.
Yeah, the Asian accents made me laugh in some of them.
Yeah. You could tell that basically none of them were Asian at all.
It'd be really sad if, like, the guy who did the people that did the voice accents were actually Asian. That'd be really sad.
I know. An Asian trying to be an Asian didn't work. Oh, man. My favorite parts were, Brother Menlo. Master Togo and his shiny head. Anyways. In the year 1127 AE, as stated before, Emperor Osoku took a firm hold of his nation and raised the Kanthan I wrote down military. That's another typo I should fix. Usoku raised the Kantha military. He spent millions in gold to arm his troops and then swept the countryside. He defeated the Luxons and the Kurzik, incorporating these disparate people back into his nation. Usoku unified Kantha behind a strong national identity and began to drive out all non-humans. The Kanthans who did not agree with him were given no choice but to leave their homeland, seeking refuge in Elona and Tyria, just as I said before. But as a result, Kantha became extremely isolationist. Isolationist?
Isolationist.
Isolationist. There you go. For the French Canadian, eh?
Hey!
Once ore rose from the ocean, the western seas could not be safely sailed. Any ships venturing near the Strait of Malcor are sunk by black ships, then dredged from the ocean floor by Orion dragon and commandeered into service. Thus, completely cut off from Kryta, Kantha vanished entirely. Travelers, refugees, and even Shunlai agents living in Tyria heard nothing more from Kantha. Sporadic sailors have washed ashore on the southern coast of the Maguma jungle, but that is the only evidence that Kantha even exists past the cataclysmic event that cut it off from Tyria. It can only be assumed that Usoku's successors continued his dictatorial, isolationist rule, and that Kantha continues beneath the iron fist of the emperor as ever. About the geography of Kantha, though once containing prairies and multitude of forests, the development of Kaining City has removed much of this. The empire contains 4 districts regions now. Xingzhe Island, Kaining City, the Echovald Forest, and the JC. The Xingzhe Island. The Xingzhe Isles are a large island surrounded by smaller islands to the west of the Kanthan mainland's northern tip. Once used for excessive logging, Xingzhe had been a farmland for centuries shared between humans, the native Tengu, Yeti, and Naga. Humanity's spread had caused conflicts with the Tengu, bringing forth the Tengu Wars. Though a crude peace was in place until Usoku took reign. About Kaining City. Originally only being part of the northernmost tip surrounding Kaining Center after the Jade Wind in 872 AE, it expanded greatly to accommodate the flood of refugees and quickly spread to cover roughly half of the empire's land. The speedy expansion turned market districts into residential districts and created a multitude of slums and wrecked buildings as houses were built atop older ones in the north, and in the north lies Raisu Palace. The Echovald Forest, the largest forest of Kantha, was home of the Kurziks before Usoku conquered them, though their current fate is unknown. When the Jade Wind struck, the trees and wildlife turned to stone, petrifying it. Since the Kurzik had crafted their homes and citadels from the gargantuan stone trees, though some of the oldest ruins, made of true stone, are said to not be of Kurzik origin, such as those of Altram ruins. Since Shirotagachi's second defeat in 1072 AE, it is said that the forest had slowly become unpetrified and new plant life could be found. When they said that, when I read that, the new plant life, I totally immediately thought about Sylvari. I don't know why, but I thought about Sylvari. I think we may see another tree in a Canthan expansion for Silvara tree. But that could just be me.
I'd be open to that idea.
Mm.
Or maybe because I think another plant race would be kind of redundant. Maybe it would be like like a pale rock, and you get like stone people, or like a pale pond, and you get like fish people.
No, I don't think so, Diint.
I never get to have any fun.
But they were talking about new plant life. Of course, it's like the renewal of the forest itself, but we know that there are several seeds that grew the tree. There are seeds everywhere across Tyria, so I don't know. We might see another not playable race. It would still be Silvari, but I mean, they have different cultures. But anyways, that's speculation.
I mean, if there was going to be anywhere, it would be Echofield Forest, and for new plant life to grow, it would need a tremendous amount of like magical energy or something to, you know, to break that petrified forest. So if there's new plant life, either, you know, something's changed, and I would say the awakening of a seed would probably be it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And talking about the sea, the Jade Sea, originally a sea of a greenish hue, the Jade Sea was crystallized by the Jade Wind, killing hundreds of Naga and landlocking the nomadic sailors, the Luxons. The now literal Jade Sea became a commodity resource as the jade it produced was both magical and beautiful, thus being used for weaponry and decoration. Similar to the Echofield Forest, rumors claim that since Shiro's second defeat, the Jade Sea had been liquefied once more. So we'll be able to see that sea,
You know,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just wondering, like talking about the pale tree, I wonder if those seeds can come in any other form, like a magical seaweed or something like that.
Like growing underwater?
Yeah, does it have to be a tree?
Oh, right, that's true. Huh.
The pale vine. the pale flower. The pale weed. Ooh, the pale weed. I like that one.
But I don't know, for something like the pale seaweed doesn't sound as attractive as the pale tree. I don't know.
No,
The pale algae. The pale coral. Ooh. The pale Venus flytrap.
Imagine the stuff that comes out of that.
Ew, don't say that.
Ever play Mario? You got your answer.
Okay.
Jeez, we are off topic today, huh?
About some speculation for Cantha, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a future expansion, for sure. And when we defeat Zaitan and port him back to sleep or whatever, I think that we may start seeing Canthans coming to Lion's Arch for some trading stuff, I guess. And we might see the Shunlai agents again. But other than that, I mean, and whatever happened to Kunavang? There's something on Wiki. They say at the end of Faction's preview event, she appeared and killed all the players in Kavalon and Hausu Heltzer. Was this to be true to lore?
Why would she do that?
She'd go crazy because Cantha, maybe because, you know, the dragons awakening would drive her insane.
Oh. Is she a champion?
No, Kunavang was the dragon in Faction. The one that helped us go through Raisupadas to defeat the Emperor.
But I mean, like, Glint helped us as well, but she's also turned out to be a champion. So could Kunavang mean well, but as soon as a dragon awoke, she had to do what she had to do.
Maybe. Oh, that would be crazy. I don't know. I'd feel bad fighting Kunavang. Unless she turned all psycho.
I wonder if Kunavang will end up having a voice like Gent.
No. Then I won't take the game seriously anymore.
Yeah.
And here's some trivia. Cantha is heavily based upon Eastern Asia and its cultures. I think this is no surprise to us. Cantha's name may have been derived from the name Canton, a country subdivision of China, or the word Cathay, an alternate name for China. Zaitan or Shaitan in the Islamic name is the Islamic name for Satan, and the name used for demons in Islam. Did you know that?
Did not know that. They seem to rely heavily on using words from Islam for their evil doers, which, now that I say it like that, it sounds a lot like stereotyping.
Yeah, it is. It's true, though.
They've used
Abaddon
Hebrew
as well.
sometimes.
Yeah. Abaddon is also a word taken from that language.
That's true.
No, Abaddon's Hebrew, not Islamic.
Is it?
Yeah. Abaddon is Hebrew for...
Isn't it the Hebrew for that crazy guy that had the funny heads and...
if you go to Wikipedia, not like the Guild Wars wiki, but if you go to like regular Wikipedia, it says the Hebrew term Abaddon is an intensive form of the word destruction, as appears as a place of destruction in the Hebrew Bible. Let's see. In a vision in the New Testament book of Revelation, a male angel called Abaddon is shown as the king of an army of locusts. His name is first transcribed in Greek as whose name in Hebrew Abaddon, and then translated as which in Greek means the destroyer. The Latin Vulgate is as well as the as a certain Bible that has words in front of it I don't know how to pronounce. As an additional note, not present in the Greek text, quote, in Latin, exterminans. Exterminans being the Latin word for destroyer. So, there.
That's cool.
Yeah, I did Abaddon. I really should know this, shouldn't I?
You'd think. But, if you're like me, your memory is... Wait, did you just talk about that 5 minutes ago? Yes? Oh. Yeah, story of my life. But anyways, that's my piece on Cantha. Now you know a little bit more about Cantha's history and its situation right now in Guild Wars 2.
Yay!
And we are going to go to the most interesting piece of the show. Kryta! Take it away, Kaysee.
Okay. So Kryta, you pretty much should know about Kryta if you're playing Guild Wars 2. And if you're not playing Guild Wars 2, what are you doing here? I don't understand.
Go play Guild Wars.
Yeah, go out, buy the goddamn game and play it. But so you should know where Kryta is. Kryta is basically Divinity's Reach and south of Divinity's Reach. So if you play the game, it basically includes Divinity's Reach, Queensdale, Keswick Hills, Harathi Hinterlands, Gendarn Fields, and Lion Arch. Lion's Arch, and there's also a little bit missing in there, which is the Dominion of Winds, and like technically that's part of Kryta, but I don't think the Tengu would agree.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Kryta just gave that up or not.
And plus, we won't know until, an expansion allows us to go there.
Yeah. So, so if you play Guild Wars 1, you have like a massive, what's it called, advantage over everyone else because they've got lots of history about Kryta. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna quickly gloss over what happened in Guild Wars 1 and just focus on what affects you in Guild Wars 2. So I'll just quickly talk about Kryta. It's a beautiful area. It's very green, and it kind of follows it's got a coastline, and it's been described as it's a bit cooler inland, and it's great for farming. It has wonderful farming land, and the beaches are white and sparkling, so it's very nice. But it has a history of kind of being screwed with by magical artifacts. So basically, the Scepter of Ore was a very powerful artifact that could be used to kind of raise the undead, and that was in Kryta for a while, and the undead rose in Kryta because of that, but that was dealt with, and no one really knows where that is now. And also at the same time there was a bloodstone in Kryta, and that kind of during the Guild Wars, which there's so much history in Kryta, I'm sorry if you're getting swept away, but the Guild Wars were basically fighting over these bloodstones, which were actually kind of a source of magic, and they're very powerful, so the guilds were fighting over that, and that was the Guild Wars, and that was a very tough time in Kryta. But basically they kind of recovered from all that, and going way back, they had a long line of kings that were descendants from King Doric. And that basically will start where the king basically flees from Kryta, leaves his throne in Kryta because the Char are marching on Kryta. And so you probably all know about the Char destroying Ascalon. It's pretty basic history in the game. It explains it all itself in the game. So the Char basically march on Ascalon. Ascalon gets totally destroyed. And then after that, they're kind of like, where should we go next? Kryta? Sounds like a good idea. So they start marching on Kryta, and basically everyone knows that there's nothing they can do. There's just... even the king is like GTFO and leaves. And so basically Kryta's left by itself with no leader. Everyone knows that they're going to be taken over. It's just basically holding on for dear life. There's not enough, they're starting to kind of dip into a famine because there's been war for such a long time. And what happens is a gambler and a drunk is just an average man, no one special. He gets exiled, but when he comes back, he's a completely changed man. And he comes preaching the power of the unseen ones. And normally, this stuff wouldn't fly in Kryta, but because they've had such a hard time, and their king has left, and they're just looking for something to cling to. So basically, they kind of latch onto this unseen one. The man's preaching that these unseen ones are gods, and they'll, they have unlimited power and all this sort of stuff. So basically, they latch onto this new religion, and it forms a new order called the White Mantle. And the White Mantle assume control of the country. And basically, this man was called Sordelesio, and Sordelesio, which is, I only mention his name because he actually has a spot in Guild Wars 2. You can actually visit his tomb that's there. But
oh yeah, I visited it this week.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really, this is what I'm trying to tell you, is that the stuff with the listeners, that, the stuff that relates to Guild Wars 2, what you can see trying to elucidate. But so this man, Sordelesio, he leads an attack on the Char, and basically it's kind of like a suicide mission, or a lot of people believe it's impossible, and they go and assassinate 3 of the Char leaders and hope that if they're assassinated, it'll lead to infighting and Kryta will be spared. Surprisingly, they managed to pull it off, and they managed to assassinate the Char, but this is where what people believe and what really happened kind of divert. People believe that after they assassinated the Char, the group was ambushed and they were slaughtered by the Char, and only a few people escaped. But it is revealed in Guild Wars 1 that the unseen ones actually become seen, and they descend on the group, and they save them from the Char that are about to kill them all, and they, slay them so easily because they're so powerful, and they're just like the guy described. They're basically, the unseen ones are basically revealed as the Masat. And there's just so much stuff to explain. I'm just trying to do it so briefly. And they're Masat. They save the men, they kill the Char, but then they turn on their own men, and they actually slay a lot of them, only leaving 3 behind. And these men become very important in Kryta, but I don't believe they're important in Guild Wars 2. So if you would like to look up or more information about these men, feel free. So basically they slaughter everyone except for these 3 men who are believed to be the most devout of their followers. And they take Sordelesio and they basically disappear. So it's very interesting to see. You can actually see that they've made a tomb for Sordelesio, even though he was never actually killed. He was just kidnapped. And there is a possibility that he could be still alive. I mean, it was a long time ago, but I mean, if the Masat have any power, there is still a possibility. So basically, in the eyes of the Krytans, the White Mantle just saved them. The White Mantle, the unseen gods just saved their entire culture and everything from the Char. So they kind of adopt the White Mantle as their new rulers, and the White Mantle become the rulers of Kryta. But there seems to them it seems wonderful, but we know that the Masat aren't as wonderful as they seem because they slaughtered their own men. They start administering a test of the Chosen, which is like basically the magical eye of Janthea judges people in Kryta, and the Chosen are meant to be taken to the Temple of the Unseen to learn under the Grand Masters, which is a great honor. But it is soon found out that they are not being taken to the temple. They are being slaughtered upon the Bloodstone, the stone that I mentioned before that houses a lot of magical power. Basically a group of heroes, which is the player in Guild Wars 1, but also Devona and all sorts of things, all those heroes, they discover this and they're so horrified they defect to the Shining Blade. Now, the Shining Blade, if you play Guild Wars 2, you know that the Shining Blades still exist, but I'll go more into them a little bit later. But the Shining Blade, they defect to the Shining Blade, and the Shining Blade is basically the resistance guerrilla movement that are trying to fight the White Mantle because they know that they're not the wonderful saviors that everyone think they are. So they defect to the Shining Blade, and this starts a civil war because basically there's infighting between the Shining Blade and the White Mantle. When the Ascalonian heroes, or our refugees, the heroes in there actually slaughter one of the 3 men that came back from the war. The group, the men that got slaughtered, one of them gets killed, and he's actually an important leader. And the White Mantle see this as they're losing grip on the country, so they desperately tighten their hand. I don't know what kind of men I thought they were. And they basically create a police state. And these are probably, these are the hardest on the everyday people. I mean, you're not allowed to travel without a permit. The roads become increasingly tough to travel because they're creating so much pressure on the general populace trying to root out rebellion, but actually they're creating it. And, the roads have become really awful to travel because the White Mantle have created so many new rules. They need to hire thugs to maintain the rules, but the thugs really have their own moral code, and so they often, ask money from merchants. If the merchants don't pay up, then they'll report them, and it's a very awful situation. But at the same time, they have an Inquisition, and the Inquisition is basically torturing people, trying to just generally make life absolutely horrible. I mean, any smart ruler can look at this situation and go, I'm creating rebellion. I mean, how many people would have defected because of this awful situation the White Mantle created?
Right.
But I digress. So basically, the Shining Blade is getting a lot more movement. They're becoming stronger, and eventually they take back Lion Arch Keep. And so the White Mantle is super annoyed, and so basically they raise the Krytan countryside on their way to Lion's Arch, like burning down villages, killing people. It's kind of insanity. And at Lion's Arch, I should probably mention this quickly. The resistance was led by Queen Salma, Salma, she was just known by Salma, who was an illegitimate daughter of one of the kings who fled, King Jarden. She was the legitimate daughter, and she was basically found by the Shining Blade, and the Shining Blade want to reinstall her as a royal line. In Kryta. So basically she becomes kind of the head of this movement, and so she's it's partly thanks to her the success of the Shining Blade is that they have a monarch again, and after a long battle at Lion's Arch, they slay the White Mantle confessors, and they kill a lot of Masat, and eventually Queen Salma is established as monarch. So this whole civil war draws to a close. The remaining White Mantle, and it's important to note that the White Mantle and the Shining Blade never disperse, even though it's so many years after that Guild Wars 2, they're still prevalent in the game. So Queen Salma gains control of the country, a monarch is established, and the White Mantle actually splits into two groups. One of them still maintains their kind of fierce beliefs, and they escape to the Maguma jungle and hide there, while the other defect from the White Mantle and join the Seraph, which we all know in Guild Wars 2. Are kind of like the police and the protectors of the Krytan area, and you'll see them all through Kryta in every section except for Lion's Arch. So basically from there we move to kind of like a present day. I mean, not much really happened in between Guild Wars 1 time and Guild Wars 2. Once the monarch was established, the only notable thing that really happened in between was the rising of the dragons. So the Shining Blade, so what happened in between was the Shining Blade turned into the royal family's elite guard. So at the point of Guild Wars 2, Queen Jenna is the queen, and you actually notice that she's surrounded or followed by the Shining Blade, which have become her elite personal bodyguards. And the White Mantle actually still exists. You can actually see the White Mantle insignia spray painted on certain areas.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah,
and especially in bandits areas.
Yeah, exactly. And that's very interesting because I haven't actually killed a white mantle yet, but I know they exist. It's actually in a personal storyline. If you would like to explore the white mantle and the shining blade conflict a little bit more, you should choose a personal storyline where you don't know your parents. And that is a really good one to see, kind of explore a little bit more history. Yeah. But also there is an area in the Brisbane wildlands where you can explore this a bit more, because Brisbane wildlands is very close to where the conflict happened. And so if you go there, you'll actually see ghosts and events happen that are very nostalgic for Guild Wars 1 players, but there's also a lot of lore there. So if you haven't played Guild Wars 1 and you want to explore it, go to the Brisbane Wildlands and find this area. And it's kind of a difficult area to find because it's meant to be a secret. So I'll just say it's in the bottom left of the map, and you can find it for yourself in the Brisbane Wild. I don't want to do spoilage. I know a lot of people really enjoy finding this stuff out for themselves. So those two factions still exist, and they're still a major part. So, it's really great if you see them and you know where they came from. You know that they have this history and what the history is, and why are the Shining Blade ghosts and the White Mantle ghosts fighting each other. This is the reason why. There was a massive civil war relating to religions and gods, and basically, the oppression of the oppression the White Mantle put on Kryta. That's that story and how it relates. And there's also another. Basically, what happened after that was it was all very fine and dandy for a little while, but it was only fine and dandy for about 32 years before Primatus stirred, and that's when things started to get a little crazy. And then but then after that, there was a bit of, whispers that things were changing, that, Primatus was arising. And 100 years after that, Zhaitan rose. And so when Zhaitan rose, all hell broke loose. And when he rose, he sent a tidal wave out that completely flooded Lion's Arch. And basically, a lot of people were killed. The whole city was destroyed. And 10 years later, when the city started drying out again because it was underwater for quite a while, basically pirates moved into the drying ruins and created a state there, or a free state, which is, they say they're not, I don't think they consider themselves as part of Kryta. But if you look at it from a border perspective, they still are in Kryta. But there is actually some conflicting accounts here. In game, it is Lion's Arch is definitely a pirate state, a free state, and it's run by pirates. And even in the books, it's the people who control it are pirates. Yeah, in the game guide, which provides a game guide, is absolutely wonderful, by the way. If you want to read up a lot of history, the game guide has a few pages at the front which completely go over what happened in all the campaigns, what happened between Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2, and any general information you will need, it has in this book. But one of the lines that it has is about Lion's Arch. And it basically says, Zaitan's rising flooded the city but did not destroy it. After much of the populace fled, corsairs moved into the ruins. As the ruins dried, the Krytans wanted their territory back. They fought the corsairs and drove the pirates out, reclaiming the old capital, which is very at odds with what's going on with the rest of the sources.
Yeah, because in the game and everywhere else it says that the pirates built the city, and now in the game manual it says that the corsairs were driven out.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if that was maybe, it could either be a slip, or that's going to happen sometime in the future. Which from a game perspective might be a bit difficult logistically, but from a lore perspective makes a lot of sense. I mean, as soon as things get rich, people realize that it was once theirs. And Lion's Arch is definitely in Kryta.
Yeah.
And I think after Zaitan if he is defeated, I don't know what, I assume that's what happened because I haven't defeated him yet. I haven't seen what happens. Lion's Arch will be kind of, not redundant, but the whole reason that they didn't want it was because it was constantly under assault from undead minions. Mm-hmm. And it kind of like the pirates kind of had to hold their own. But once Zaitan leaves, I mean, there's nothing that it would create Lion's Arch undesirable. I can completely imagine the throne kind of going, Lion's Arch was ours. I think we want it back again.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, even though they built Divinity's Reach and it's way much bigger than, Lion's Arch, but still makes sense.
Yeah, because it's a trading hub and you get a lot of money from trading hubs.
Yeah.
And it's established already. I can understand why they want it. Mm-hmm. So it's either that or it's a slip up. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't taken out or something like that, which is very hard to believe considering, that I'm pretty sure they wanted Lion Arch to be a pirate state for a long time. There's too many things in there that are piratey. So
piratey,
yeah, like the jumping puzzle.
yeah, that's true. But another thing to mention also is, Lion's Arch is the central hub, if you could call it, of all of Tyria, because that's where all the gates are. It's the only place, to my knowledge, that has a gate in the same place that where you can use as a hub to travel everywhere around Tyria.
Yes, very right.
So if a war between, the pirates and the Krytans technically would, emerge to claim ownership of Lion's Arch, then those gates, the Asura could just be like, well, we're going to close them down.
Yeah, very true.
What's going to be your Lion's Arch now,
Yeah.
Sorry for barging in like that.
Not at all, not at all. You know what? Actually, the connection failed for a few minutes there. And so I think I was talking to myself for a little while. And when it connected again, you were talking about the gates. I'm like, yeah, something definitely went wrong there.
Well, basically, that's what my point was at anyways, so.
Well, I'm glad you said it because it really applies to it. So basically what I was just saying was that that's the history of Lion's Arch. The history of Lion's Arch is basically that it got destroyed by the tidal wave and rebuilt by pirates, and the survivors kind of left. And they created a new city in Divinity's Reach. Well, the new city of Divinity's Reach, because Divinity's Reach wasn't there in Guild Wars 1. So Divinity's Reach is basically the new human area, and I think humans have been beaten down so much, like in Cantha and Elona, all we've been hearing is basically them being beaten down. So Divinity's Reach has kind of become a melting pot for all the refugees coming to Divinity's Reach. From all these areas. So you actually see Divinity's Reach has, a lot of different areas. Like each section has like a Elonian area, has different architecture to the Ascalonian area. So that's really interesting that, the other continent's law actually comes into play with Divinity's Reach. So that was established. So basically we've covered the two major cities of Kryta and their histories, which is very important. So apart from that, that is the general history of Kryta. Is basically the very important history that you should really know about is the Civil War and the histories of the two cities. But there's also some really important places there. And there's a lot of history before the Civil Wars, but there's not a lot of it. For example, druids were actually Krytan humans at one point, and they moved to the Muguma jungles and Muguma jungle, and they became basically the spirits of the wild, and they shed their human bodies, but they were once Krytans, and that's sort of a very vague history. There's also the Temple of the Ages, which has in Guild Wars 2 has become God's Lost Swamp. And you might be wondering why there's so many statues of gods in God's Lost Swamp. Well, it actually used to be the Temple of Ages in Guild Wars 1, and basically I have to admit I don't know how it became so ruined, but I assume it has something to do with the rising of the gods.
And the whole places being flooded and lands moving and such.
Yeah. Oh, I said Rise of the God, Rise of the Dragons. There we go.
Yeah.
And all this problem with the centaurs as well, which I'll talk a bit. Yeah. So, and that's an interesting area. Right there, you can see all the statues, which were actually, they're all broken down, but they used to be erect in Guild Wars 1. And also the Wizard's Tower. Now that's a really interesting one, which has a lot of speculation and has a lot of people wondering what it's about. And the Wizard's Tower is, it's in Kessex Hills. And if you go to the bottom, east, west, is it no?
East-west is really quite the opposite.
Yep. Southeast. I don't know why I got that confused. Southeast quadrant. There's like a little strawberry farm, and from that, and if you go through like all these veteran Ettons and you get to the strawberry farm, you can actually get this wonderful view of this tower, the Wizard's Tower, and it's just this floating rock with this strange tower on it, and is very interesting because there's absolutely nothing explained about it. But on top of that, there's a little town next to it that's very hidden, but it seems to be filled with all these magical things, like almost there's tons of elementals there, and people use elementals like servants, and there's all this really weird stuff going on there that you don't see anywhere else in Kryta. You don't see that sort of magic prevalence anywhere else in Kryta. So it kind of, and the fact that it's called a Wizard's Tower, I feel like there's going to be a lot more to do with that later on.
Have you visited some of the houses in that little town?
I haven't explored it as much as I want to, no.
Because I went in one, and on the third floor there was this huge magical machine that looked like an Asura type, with the holograms and all that. And I was wondering, what the hell is that doing there? It looked like a command center, basically.
Wow, I have to check that out.
Yeah. And I don't know why I haven't visited all of the houses, but that was one of them.
Wow, that's interesting. So there's something's definitely going on with that. But that's a very interesting tower as well. There's, it was in Guild Wars 1, but I don't think anything was explained about it in Guild Wars 1.
No.
Except for that everyone was trying to get into it. There were multiple quests where you I don't know why, but you thwart people from going into the tower, but it's never explained why. So I think there's definitely, so just so you know, that Wizard's Tower is not new. It was in Guild Wars 1. And
it's very mysterious.
Very, very mysterious. I'm very excited to see what that might be. But now that you say it's Azura stuff, I wonder what's going on there. It's very unlike an Azura to want to be up in the air.
Yeah, given they came from under, from beneath the earth, so.
Yeah, but they're very weird sometimes. Very eccentric.
Yeah.
But it's also not like the Azura to share all their magical inventions with other people.
And if it would be Asura related, that means that the Asura had it in the very first campaign of Guild Wars.
That's very interesting.
Weird.
So much stuff to know.
Yeah, I know.
So yeah, that's basically the general history of Kryta. It's it's not it hasn't had it that tough, but it has had some very dark history. And then at the same time, it's been screwed with by magical artifacts, like the Bloodstone just attracted the wrong sort of people, and the Scepter of Awe created undead, and they only got to really enjoy about just over 100 years of peace before Zhaitan completely destroyed their capital city after all that civil war. So the only thing that Kryta really has got going for them, the fact that they haven't, I think, broken, is the fact that it's very rich land and it's very beautiful. And the problem is that I don't know if they took it from the centaurs, but they're fighting with the centaurs, and the fighting with the centaurs has gotten very bloody, and you'll actually know if you play a human that you just get sick of centaurs. Like, I love that that's part of the game, that if you feel like a human, you feel like you just want to kill every goddamn centaur on the entire Kryta.
Yeah.
But it's at least one good thing about humans is that we can outrun centaurs.
Oh my gosh. I keep hearing that all the time. Well, it doesn't help that I'm playing a female elementalist, of course, but I can outrun a centaur. I know.
Yeah.
You said it about 20 times in the past 5 hours. Because, we do play 5 hours in a row.
For sure. It's but yeah, that's my history of Kryta. I would just want you to know that what I've told you, like, I've just been going on, and I know that I've been saying, oh, and this person is this, and oh, and this person is this. There's just so much history because there was an entire campaign based around it. And there was actually a lot of offshoots as well. Like, the Prophecies involves the Civil War, but then the Civil War is actually continued with Queen Salma in the war in Kryta. So basically, it's got a lot of history, a lot of stuff that's unexplained, like the Wizard's Tower, a lot of stuff that's very mysterious, like the Druids. So, I'm going to try and do it all in some notes for you guys, and put as much information as I can in it. But there's always more. There's just Kryta is one of those areas that it's a lot of it, and so take it easy. If you find something in game like the Shining Blade or something with a name, or a tomb with a name, it's very easy to just go and look it up and see what that's about, and because there is a lot of it.
And since, Cantha and Elona isn't unlocked yet, and there's so little about it, and I mean, Kryta, we've been exploring Kryta all over for the past month also, so.
Well, I'm very glad I got to do it because I got 100% in Kryta, so I'm like, I feel like I'm good with Kryta.
Yay!
Yeah.
And well, I mean, in the future also we might do some shows about certain spots in Kryta where you can go explore and what's about it, and just like the Wizard's Tower, and when we learn more about it, then do another show about that, and lore, speculations, and questions and answers, and all that, because I mean the Guild Wars 2 is filled with treasures, and oh my gosh, and when I say treasures, I don't mean gold and loot and stuff. I really mean like the lore of the game itself. There's so much going on in that game, and it amazes me every single day.
Oh, definitely.
Every day.
Writing.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
We're just so both enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And I was just saying, from a writer's perspective, I admire that so much, like so much depth, and the fact that we can actually do weekly, or you guys do weekly podcasts on lore is amazing. Like, there's that much stuff, and we're not even close to, you guys are not even close to it, finishing it.
No, and there's so much to talk about still. But for now, that is enough, because I mean, we've been dragging on for close to 2 hours now.
Oh,
And
gosh.
for those who noticed why Diint is so silent, is that because in the middle of Casey's piece, he had to go. His headset died. So he couldn't even talk. So he just typed to us, "Hey, I gotta go. And by the way, my aunt is at the hospital, so we hope your aunt is doing good." We don't know what's going on with his aunt, but we hope she's okay.
Yeah, well, thinking good wishes for her.
So, before we close this show, did you have any... I keep forgetting my words. It's so late. Comments?
No, I just had a really great time listening about Elona and Cantha, and I'm just amazed that there's just so much lore about it.
Yeah, and the games aren't even out yet.
Yeah,
The expansions, oh my god. I was about to say I can't wait, but there's so much stuff still to do in Kryta that, I can wait.
It's just I mean I play quite a lot. I have a lifestyle that which affords me to do that, and I'm nowhere near completing it. I mean, yes, I've gotten to 80, but there's just so much stuff. Like I haven't properly, like the other day I discovered 2 dwarven tombs. And the names look familiar, but I don't know who they are. And I'm still it's on my to-do list, but my to-do list is to go back, research who they are, and then go back to the tombs and reread it and enjoy it again. And there's just so much to do.
I know.
Like that.
And that's just in one certain place of Tyria.
Yeah.
It's not the whole game. It's not the whole continent that we're on right now. There's so much content. And there's not one single game that's gonna even match up to the greatness that is Guild Wars 2.
No, I mean, a lot of people complain about mechanics and things of Guild Wars 2, but there's one thing that I honestly believe that Guild Wars 2 cannot be faulted on, and that is the quality of its lore. And a lot of people say, oh, it's similar to this, it's similar to that. I mean, for about 1,000 years, I don't think anything's ever been truly new. I mean, everything seems like other things, and it's all about presentation. And I mean, the fact that we can be so inspired by these things that are fictional, but they're just it's not, Guild Wars 2 is not a book, but it feels like a book.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are 2 books, but but it's not about, the whole thing. Oh my god. Imagine if there was a book about just the game that we're playing right now and all the dialogues. I don't know if you've seen, I can't remember who it was, if it was John or, his name is escaping me, on Twitter, linked a picture of just one session of the voiceovers for the game. And there was these huge binders, a whole huge box of binders filled with paper with just the stuff that the actors had to read.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's crazy. And that's just for one session. So there's so much lore. It's incredible.
Geez, what would I do to get my hands on that? I mean,
know.
so much lore is communicated through this dialogue. It's actually spoken dialogue, but it's so subtle. It's not this dialogue that comes on your screen, it's the background dialogue. And so many of it is it's so much of it is just pearlers, and so many times I've oh my god, screenshot it. If I've seen someone talking and they say something about Cantha, I just hear the word Cantha, I just screenshot it so that because they've already kind of halfway through their sentence. I can't read it that fast before the bubble goes away,
right.
But I know that it's always something good, something interesting that they say.
Yeah, my favorite one is in Lion's Arch, and it's a Char Lion Guard talking to a kid Asura.
Oh.
And the kid Asura says to the Char, your face is funny or something like that. And then Char says, no, your face is funny. It looks like a little raisin. But the conversation comes up every maybe like 3 minutes. So you're there at the Mystic Forge and, going to your bank and going back and forth, Mystic Forge, bank, whatever. And this conversation you hear about like 15 times while you're there. But every single time I giggle.
Yeah.
And then you hear me on raid call going, no, your face is funny. It looks like a little raisin.
And it's like when he says that, you're like, you're right, it does.
Yeah. That's right. It does look like a little raisin.
But there's also a lot of things like that, like Char talking about raising their kid in Lion's Arch and wanting to preserve their the Black Citadel customs about having a warband, and two kids who are best friends, but their parents don't get along, and they play together. Like,
oh yeah, I've seen that one. I was like, oh, poor kids.
Yeah, like, don't tell our parents, they'll kill us, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, I don't care. I won't tell us. You're my best friend anyways.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're like, oh. And it's not because we're females. I'm sure there are males out there going like, oh. So cute.
For sure. They just won't tell us.
Yeah, exactly. But yes, that's a little bit of the lore about Guild Wars 2. And next week, we don't know yet if we're going to do a lore show because lagywn's going to be back.
Yay!
And so we'll probably do a recap about the game and new lore and speculation, and maybe we'll have you back on the show, Kaysee, to talk about your experience and what you've been doing. Because just to let the people know that yes, there is still stuff to do after level 80. People seem to think that once you reach level 80 you end the game and then that's it, but that's not the case.
There's absolutely no way anyone could have done all the game by now. I actually have friends who basically posted, oh, game is great, but it's pretty boring after level 80. And it's like, no, because you've got this guy plays a lot of online games and he's got such a mindset that it has to be this certain thing for endgame. But I'll leave that until later if you like.
Yeah, we could actually talk about that for next week. So next week, you'll be on our show, and I think it won't be a lore episode, but pretty much we'll be talking about the lore of Guild Wars 2, what's going on in game right now, and some speculations for future stuff to come, and because we don't want to give all that lore to lagywn for next week. He's coming back from his honeymoon and cruise. He's going to be all chilly-like, so not chilly, but chill, not chill,
chillaxed.
But chillaxed. So we don't want to throw all that work on him right away. We'll probably do a show. And he's probably going to want to play Guild Wars 2 as well. So no time for him to take notes and look into lore and stuff. So, well, that was it for the show tonight. Thank you very much, Kaysee, for being part of this show, for taking lagywn's place. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you. I always have so much fun.
And you'll definitely be there next week. Once again, thank you to our listeners who are tuning in and downloading our episodes on iTunes. We really appreciate your support. And if you want to say hello in game, be sure to just come into our forum, CoTforums.com, and you'll have all the information for our guild. If you want to join our raid call, the CoT raid call, sometimes we do some events on there, so you'll be able to participate. We have a Twitter. Every time we do events, we post them on Facebook and Twitter, so just follow us up there and you'll be updated on every single events that we do. So thank you very much for sticking around with us. And for episode 18 of Chronicles of Tyria podcast, CoT Podcast, I am Naveen.
And I'm Kaysee.
And Diint is away.
Hang on. And I'm Diint.
There you go. Because that's exactly what he sounds like.
I tried to be all upbeat and lovely, but it doesn't work. There's no replacement for Diint. His voice is so wonderful.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, Diint, that you had to hear that. You had to hear my bad impression.
Oh, I'm sure he's forgiving. Well, thank you, and we will see you next time.
Bye.